Longhorn fans, Sooner Nation, welcome to episode 55 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I'm John Whitson. Kevin finally has some decoration in his background of his YouTube video with a Spurs hat, and that's all we have from him. That is the extent of the swag that he's showing off. What's the word? The flair, if you're an Office Space fan from the late 90s, the flair that is being shown off by Kevin Miller, all we get from him is a Spurs hat. Do you not have anything else you can put up behind you when you record these podcasts?
Hey man, listen, it's the content that matters. All right. Well, listen, Wembanyama, that's all I gotta say. Victor Wembanyama. Dude, listen,
you know I'm fired up about Wembanyama. This is what the Spurs have always had. The last two times they had this pick, it drastically changed the outlook of that franchise. When they the year before David Robinson arrived, they were 21 and 61. 87.
96. Oh, you said David Robinson?
David Robinson.
Oh, yeah. I think it was
like 87, like 88 or 89. Yeah. The year before he arrived, 21 and 61. The next year with David Robinson, the number one draft pick that the Spurs had to wait on because he served in the Navy, they reversed it to 61 and 21. The single greatest turnaround by a franchise in NBA history. Record still stands. Then you take a Spurs team that had always kind of got close, and then you added Tim Duncan with the number one pick, and then the rest was history with Popovich and Tim Duncan and all those great Spurs players. Hopefully, Wembanyama can provide the same level of franchise-changing trajectory because the Spurs absolutely need it.
They really do, man. The Spurs, the year before Duncan, they went 20 and 62. And then the next year with him, they went 56 and 26.
Now, why were they so bad? Was Robinson hurt that year?
Yeah, he hurt his back. And I think they were kind of tanking too. I think the injury was legit, but I think they wrote it out. They just shut it down for the year. See what we can do with getting this big guy from Wake Forest, and it worked out for him.
Man,
it's pretty crazy, man. The three times that they've only had seasons like this, three times, and each time they end up with a monumental draft pick. It's crazy.
Listen, we're both Spurs fans. I know that normally we disagree on this show when we're talking to OU in Texas, but we're both huge Spurs fans. I'm excited about it. I think this is it's going to be interesting to see if Popovich sees this all the way through. Dude's getting old, man.
He is. Yeah, I think you would think he'd be ready to retire, right? But he can't retire now when he's about to get this generational talent. So, yeah, I think he'll have to stay at least 3 years, right?
I remember in the 90s, I was in high school, and he was the general manager. He wasn't even the coach. He was the general manager.
Yeah.
And fired the coach. Was it Greg Hill?
Bob Hill.
Bob Hill. I played basketball against Bob Hill's son. He went to Clark. Had a great 3-point shot. He fired Bob Hill and inserted himself as the head coach. Spurs fans were not.
Yes, we were.
They were not thrilled. They were not thrilled. And but obviously the rest is history. All right, hey. But thank you for the hat, Kevin. Thank you for getting this episode started. News of the day as of Thursday, June 1st, 2023. The SEC has announced that they will have an 8-game regular season schedule, and every team is supposed to schedule a Power 5 opponent for their 9th game, and then they can backfill the other 3 games with whoever they have. On a scale of 1 to 10, how disappointed are you that the SEC will only have an 8-game schedule in its first season with Oklahoma and Texas?
I'd say about a 7 or 8.
I'm with you. It's a high 8 for me. I just can't believe it. It's the weakest thing in the world. You've got time to set it up. It's not like these teams have contracts with anybody they can't get out of. I just think it's weak sauce. I don't like it. I don't understand it. You have an opportunity to put a stranglehold on the sport of college football, which is almost already there, but you've added Oklahoma and Texas, and it just seems really weak. And I got to tell you, the Power 5 opponent, we're only 2 years out of a Power 5 opponent. If you don't have one on your schedule, it's going to be kind of hard to get one. Does Oklahoma have one? Would that have been Georgia?
I think you guys would have had Georgia this year.
Georgia this year. I don't know who we would have had next year. Who is Texas going to have in 24?
Texas in 24, I believe they have. It's a big one. Let me see.
See, as of right now, Oklahoma only has Temple and Tulane on the schedule, and Texas. Oddly enough, that's funny. Google has Texas on the schedule in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, we're scheduled to play at Michigan next year.
In 24?
24.
Well, I mean, I guess if that's the case, Texas fans probably happy then you only have an 8-game SEC schedule?
Colorado State, well, as of right now, I see Colorado State, at Michigan, and then UTSA.
So you don't have to add a Power 5 opponent because you already have one. You need to add just a filler opponent to get in there. Oklahoma has to add a Power 5 opponent. Maybe that's why Oklahoma fan, I mean, you tell me, is Texas fan knowing now after you see that realizing and remembering that you had Michigan, does that temper your disappointment that you only have 8 games because you have a Michigan on the schedule?
Yeah, a little bit because we have such a big name and quality opponent too. I mean, Michigan has become one of the best programs in college football over the past few years under Harbaugh. So yeah, it makes it a little bit easier, but still, you just want to play the best teams. And I think the college football playoff will still take a lot of SEC teams, and that strength of schedule will really ramp up. So even if you have a couple losses in the SEC, you can still get into the playoff.
I think Oklahoma fan is much more disappointed because we don't already have a premier game on the schedule. Yeah. I don't know what was going to fall on the schedule, but I know we had Georgia lined up. We had LSU lined up. We had teams lined up. We were going to have good non-conference opponents had we not gone to the SEC. Having gone to the SEC has eliminated a lot of those matchups that we've had. So it's going to be interesting to see who we backfill with. I still think a 9-game schedule is not. I mean, you scheduled Michigan knowing you were going to have a 9-game Big 12 schedule. I know that's radically different from an SEC schedule, but
also Texas has Ohio State scheduled in 25 and 26.
Oh, really? And then you come back for Michigan after the year after that?
Yeah, in 27, Michigan comes to Austin.
Let me ask you this. How much do you think Texas had to impact some of this scheduling then? They might have been on the side of keeping it at 8 games.
Chris Del Conte said that he actually wanted the 9-game. He would have preferred the 9-game.
Oh, he did say that? Okay.
Yeah, he did say that. He said it publicly. So.
Well, all right. Okay. All right. So you're not as disappointed, but you've got some big names there that'll
yeah, that's why. And if we had a weak non-conference schedule lined up, it'd be pretty disappointing.
Yeah, dude, we've got Temple and Tulane in 24. That's all. So we need to fill that with a Power 5 who's not already scheduled. And then
who would you want? Just hypothetically, what type of team? Because I mean, I don't know if you guys are wanting to play.
I think you'd want to play a Big 12 team. I think it'd be fun.
A Big 12 team? Okay.
I think you.
Is it too soon for that?
Well, maybe, but it just makes a lot of sense to fill it in with the Big 12 team. I mean, I don't know what the SEC's calling a Power 5 anymore, but is the Pac-12 going to be a Power 5 after this year?
I think so. I think you probably want to schedule a team that has a decent enough name to where it gets people's attention, but you can win, like an Arizona State or something like that,
I don't think that gets anybody. I don't think there is, with the exception of Oregon and maybe Utah, and the reality is you don't want to play either of those teams, right? You don't want to play Oregon or Utah.
No, especially Utah.
Especially, but I mean, look at Lanning, dude. Lanning just had a
Yeah.
big recruiting win with the Zadavion Sims against us, the kid out of Durant. So Oregon, Utah out of the Pac-12. Granted, I'll give them a lot of credit, but losing USC and UCLA, look, dude. I mean, Colorado going to be terrible. We hope.
And I heard Colorado's looking at joining the Big 12.
Well, it makes sense. It makes sense if Colorado. I think we talked about this on the pod last time that I bet you Utah wishes they could, but BYU is going to block them. That's just my guess. You're right. Maybe if we could play somebody out of the Big Ten, maybe Nebraska. Let's get Nebraska back on the schedule.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be down with that if we could get a home and home in Nebraska. That would be the kind of name I think that would fit and still enter the Big 12. But nothing's going to compare with a Michigan and Ohio State on the lineup. That's pretty big time by Del Conte.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I would like to go up to one of those schools. I know you went to Ohio State.
No, you want to
there and smack the Buckeyes that year.
You want to go to Ohio State. It's a great trip, great college town. Of course, I've never been to Ann Arbor, but I would go if we were on the schedule. Absolutely. All right. So that's the non-con. So now let's transition over to the in-conference play. So the only thing we can pretty much guarantee is we thought there was a really good chance of there being pods. We've talked about this on the podcast in the past, who the pod partners were going to be, who was going to be the people that we played all the time, the three teams or whatever. It's looking like that's not the case anymore with this 8-game schedule. So you're probably only going to have the rivalry game. At least my guess is for the first 2 years. That means Oklahoma will play Texas. Surprise, surprise.
Absolutely.
So outside of that, who do you most want to see come to UT in the first scheduled home game in the SEC?
Well, I'd love for it to be Texas A&M, but I don't think it'll work out like that. If they bring that one back, I think they'll have it late in the season on their rivalry weekend, the same weekend that the Thanksgiving weekend when Alabama and Auburn play and Florida, Georgia play. But I would love to see Tennessee.
Really?
Yeah, I would love that. I would absolutely love to play Tennessee. I've always liked their program. I think Heupel's doing a fantastic job there, coming off a big bowl win against Clemson. I don't know. I think he hasn't gone in the right direction. I would just love it. It would be great.
I would like to see Tennessee. Man, that's just so cool to think about Tennessee going to Austin or Texas going to Knoxville. I mean, both of those, just saying it out loud just sounds awesome. I cannot wait. I like that. I think you're going to see A&M, but I agree with you. I think it's going to be later in the season. It's just impossible. They have to play A&M, right? Regardless of the pod.
There's no way that cannot happen.
Do you think Oklahoma is going to avoid playing Missouri, or do you think we're going to have to play Missouri?
Well, I hope you don't, because I just don't see the connection. I mean, I know they were both in the Big 8 at the same time, but I mean, you would know better than me. Was this an historic rivalry? It's not like Nebraska or anything like that, right? I mean,
it was. First of all, in basketball, it was a great rivalry. Basketball was always a really big deal when Oklahoma and Missouri played. In football, Missouri would they'd step up and nip at us every once in a while, but not really. Not a rivalry. I wouldn't call it a rivalry.
I don't know about the Switzer years, but I mean, with Gary Pinkel, they were pretty good, right? They would win the North a lot, but they would never beat you guys in the conference title game.
Oh, never in the conference title game? They beat a number 1 Landry Jones team once. Who was the kid?
Was that Blaine Gabbert?
No, it wasn't Gabbert. It was the kid before him that went on to.
Chase Daniel.
No, the kid that
Brad
went
Smith?
to play. Yeah, Brad Smith. I'm pretty sure he's the one that beat us.
Brad Smith was before Chase Daniel, actually.
No,
it was Brad Smith, Chase Daniel, and then Blaine Gabbert.
No, I feel like there was a kid in between Daniels and Gabbert.
I don't know, man. I thought they went straight from. I thought they went straight from Daniel to Gabbert. Gabbert was a 5-star recruit, if you remember that.
I guess it could have been. I guess it could have been Blaine Gabbert. But Blaine Gabbert wasn't there in that would have been 2012, maybe? In the same year that we won. Same year that we won against Florida State.
Okay.
Mm.
2010.
Gabbert was there in 2010?
I'm pretty sure he was.
Why do I think it was Brad Smith? When
No,
was Brad Smith there?
That was Blaine Gabbert. 36 to 27. Blaine Gabbert was 30 of 42, 308 yards and a touchdown.
You can see I blocked that from my memory. Anyway, my point being is I don't really want to play Missouri. I don't want to play South Carolina. Whatever. I mean, I know that Beamer coach. Okay, whatever. Beamer coach show you. To me, that's a nothing burger.
No,
Rattler will already be gone. We've played Tennessee recently in recent memory. I would love to see. You guys were
supposed to play them during the COVID year, right? Tennessee was supposed to come to Norman. I'm pretty sure in 2020 the game got canceled. Remember the non-con got canceled?
Oh, maybe that's possible.
Yeah,
and that's probably to come to Norman. And that's probably the other game that should have been on the 24 schedule is the replay of the Tennessee game. But we played them in recent memory. Of course, I would love a big name. I would love LSU or Bama or Georgia to show up, and maybe they will. But I think our best bet is probably like Arkansas or Florida. That's who I think Oklahoma will play in their first home game in Norman. Is an Arkansas team or a Florida team.
I think that would be fantastic. Florida, the great fan base again. They'll bring a ton of fans to Norman. I think it'd just be a crazy atmosphere.
I was very excited when Florida was rumored to be in our pod. I thought that was perfect. That was a team we could easily get behind hating, but they're a quality program in all their sporting teams, all their sports teams. They're a good basketball team, good football team. Gymnastics, baseball, you name it.
Yeah, baseball too. Yeah.
They're really, heck, golf. They were just in the national championship for golf or the match play anyway. They're really, really good. Florida, I would love for it to be a Florida team. Missouri, man, I don't know. I don't want any part of Missouri.
Yeah, it just doesn't get you excited, man. And like we said, they had some good teams over the years, and they've had some good players for sure. But I don't know, it just doesn't do it.
No.
It's not going to excite the fan base. It's no different than playing against a Big 12 team, honestly.
So here's the thing, man. With an 8-game schedule, you got to figure that you're not going to have to run. They're not going to make anybody run the gauntlet of LSU, Alabama, and Georgia all in the same year.
You wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so. That makes it significantly easier to navigate an SEC schedule if there's only eight games. Because you figure you're going to play one of those big boys. Because they've got to fill in the 7 other games. There's 16 teams, dude. So they have 15 games to slate you with. They can't afford to give you all the big boys on your schedule. So that means, you're going to play Alabama, but you're probably not going to play Georgia. And there's a good chance you don't play LSU. Okay, well, that's great. So Florida's a team. Let's just use Oklahoma as the example. You got Alabama. That's, depending on what that is. But then your next best quality opponent's going to be Florida, Arkansas, Texas, A&M. The names sound good, but, A&M went 5-7 last year, right? Arkansas, whatever. My point is much more navigable than if you had a 9-game schedule where with a 9-game schedule, you were almost guaranteed to play Alabama, Georgia, or LSU in that schedule. If that makes sense, just adding that one more team in there. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Here's the thing that has always confused me about the SEC scheduling, right? So Texas A&M played their first SEC game. What was that, 2011? With Johnny Manziel? Remember that when they played against Florida?
Yes.
They played Georgia one time.
That's what I'm saying.
How does that happen?
Well, that's my point. That's my point. Yes, you're first of all, it's crazy that they would schedule like that. Number two, that's my point. Like, it's really, really hard to put the big boys all on one schedule. It rarely happens.
Okay, well, I guess, and I know they have more teams.
Well, because
remember the old Big 12 format? Remember how that used to work?
Well, they're talking, the only thing that will be different, yes, I do remember the Big 12 format. The only thing, which would be but I think they're going divisionless.
Okay.
I think for this 8-game schedule, they're going to go no divisions in the SEC.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that helps or hurts scheduling, but
it's a lot to sort out, right? Because then you also have these historic rivalries that they're going to want to try to keep, right? Like Alabama's going to want to play Tennessee every year, like they always have. Obviously, they're going to play Auburn. That's the main rival. But they also play Tennessee every year, even though they're in different divisions.
Yeah, Tennessee was their guaranteed cross-division rival.
Okay. Makes sense.
LSU's cross-division rival was Florida.
Okay, that makes sense also. And you have Auburn and Georgia play every year, even though
that's right.
They're in different divisions.
So you had those guaranteed cross-division. So the hard part for the SEC, and to your point, it won't affect Oklahoma and Texas because we just have the one rivalry. But how do you maintain, like the SEC West, for example, has always been a juggernaut.
Big time.
Are we saying that Alabama and LSU won't have to play each other?
Yeah, every year. Yeah. I mean, that's what it looks like, right?
There's no way they could, right? Because they're already going to play Auburn. They have to play Auburn, you would think.
Mm-hmm.
You would think they would have to play Tennessee. That's going to be their two guaranteed games, at least the first 2 years.
Yeah.
You're going to want them to play other teams. It's just going to be. You're right. It's. I know that for us looking in on it, it's an easy thing to figure out, or we can sit there and kind of try to figure it out, and it seems pretty straightforward. But it's going to be kind of icky for the SEC. They're going to feel weird, I think, that first time that schedule drops.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it's always been the East and West, as far back as I can remember. They started the conference championship game in '92, I believe, with I think Florida won the first one, the Spurrier. So it's going to be an adjustment for sure.
In other news, the NBA Finals starts tonight. Kevin, do the number 8 seed Miami Heat have any chance against the Denver Nuggets and Jokic?
Well, man, you can't write off this Heat team, right? If they're number 8 seed in the finals, I mean, you talk about being battle tested. So they do have a chance. However, man, I don't see it happening.
Okay, let me ask you about the Heat. So you got the Miami Heat. Who is the bigger contributing factor to them advancing to the finals? Jimmy Butler or Eric Spoelstra?
Jimmy Butler.
You think
so?
Although
Spoelstra's a great coach, man. Yeah, I mean, he's just the emotional leader on the court, man. He carries them from an emotional standpoint, and he just carries them on the court a lot of the times too. However, you know how I feel. I think Coach Spoelstra, he's the best coach in the NBA. So
now there was a sense when LeBron and D Wade and Bosh were there that Spoelstra was just kind of the kid they picked to open the gym and shut the gym down after practice, right? I mean, didn't you get that
I think
sense?
At that time, he was he was brand new at the time. Can you imagine that, being a new coach? And it's like, hey, okay, we got D Wade, and then now all of a sudden, hey, we're getting Chris Bosh. Okay, and we're getting LeBron James at his absolute physical peak. It's a lot for a young coach, man. He's done a great job.
Well, he handled it well. 2 titles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're Doc Rivers, I don't know that we can guarantee Doc Rivers is going to get 2 titles out of that team as much as everybody.
Doc's a second-round coach, right? I mean, he's proven that to us.
He's
had some really good teams. That Clippers team in, 2016, that was a really, really good team. And they blew that 3-1 lead to Houston.
And what he did with the Celtics, only winning 1 title, they should have won more. That was a loaded Celtics team.
Loaded,
that team was loaded. No, I think Spoelstra is proving that he might be the best coach. Is he the best coach in the league? Are we only saying that because they made it?
No. He's been a great coach for years. He's a great coach, man. And he coached Missoula off the floor in this last series.
Did you see Missoula's he's retaining the job, though, at Boston?
I did not know that.
Yes.
I wasn't sure.
He will be back next year. That's a fascinating deal because clearly they underachieved, right?
Well, here's the thing, right? He wasn't supposed to be the coach, right? He was an assistant, and he wasn't even the lead assistant. He was in the second row. I don't know if you noticed last year. You know how you have like the coach, you have the main assistant right now. No, he's in the second row. I've heard.
He was like
Adam Joe.
He's what Adam Sandler ended up in Hustle. Did you see that movie?
I haven't seen it.
Oh my God, Kevin!
Yes.
Oh, do I have to go on a tangent of all this stuff you refuse to watch on television?
Hey, listen, I'm a busy man, all right?
Look, dude, I don't care.
I'm too busy watching sports.
Hustle is sports. It's a sports film.
I'm watching live sports, prepping for the podcast.
Hustle, dude, it's so good. You got to watch Hustle. It is so good. It's one of Adam Sandler's best movies. And
so he's in the second row on this one. What you're saying?
Not until the very end. He
becomes a coach.
The whole deal, his personal journey is that he wants to be a coach. He's a scout. Anybody, spoiler alert, whatever. He's a scout for the majority of the movie, but he doesn't want to be a scout. He doesn't want to be out on the road. He doesn't want to be going to Europe and all these other places. He wants to be coaching. And it takes him to the very end to walk out onto the floor and sit on the second row with Doc Rivers and the 76ers. So
Ime Udoka gets fired. He becomes a head coach. I don't think he was ready for it.
Well, I mean, they did rally to get it back to a game 7.
That is absolutely true. And Tatum did get hurt on the first play of the game. It's literally the first minute, like their first offensive possession. He rolled his ankle. He was never the same. Did
Jaylen Brown have money on the Miami Heat with the points?
Man, he struggled, man. It was hard to watch. I don't understand. This dude is so talented. Why can't he dribble the basketball?
I was driving home from Flagstaff on Memorial Day, and I was able to catch pretty much the entire second half on the radio.
It's a bit of a flex, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a 12-hour drive by Google, and I made it in 11 hours and 38 minutes.
No, I'm talking about the fact that you spent Memorial Day in Flagstaff. That's a bit of a flex there. So
what's unbelievable about Flagstaff and Sedona, by the way, where I played golf, that's another flex for the golfers out there. The crazy part is for 3 days, Kevin, I did not see a cloud. Like not even like a little puffy cloud or a really nice little cloud or a high altitude kind of like strato cloud or whatever. No clouds. Bright blue skies. It was fantastic. The air feels so good. I literally am driving home. I cross the Texas Panhandle into Oklahoma, and all of a sudden the clouds have just come back. Yeah. And it's just like, you got to be kidding me. Obviously, if for people that are curious, we just went through a crazy rainstorm here in Norman and Moore just about an hour before taping this. The clouds are insane. Flagstaff, Arizona, not a cloud in the sky. It was fantastic. Anyway, my point is Doris Burke. By the way, what do you think about Doris Burke when she?
She's great.
I actually really like her.
No, I look forward to when she calls games.
She is a solid analyst, and she was the analyst for the radio call. Okay, so I heard Doris Burke. She was out of her mind with how bad Jaylen Brown was playing in that game. He was like 1 for 11 for 3-point line and had 11 turnovers. I mean, good Lord, Kevin. Can you even imagine that?
No, I can't. And the crazy thing about his turnovers are that a lot of them aren't even forced. He's just dribbling the ball off his own foot. He cannot handle the ball. It's insane with a guy with his talent level.
The way you're describing it makes me think of like a really, really athletic kid in middle school that just is bigger and stronger than the other kids, but just hasn't quite figured out how to communicate with his hands yet.
Yeah.
And that's what it sounded like she was describing. Like he's up and down the court, doing this, but then, he lost another one. Missed another shot. It's like, dude, stop shooting threes.
Yeah.
Like, that's where, I don't know if Spoelstra would have been able to do that as a coach, but Mazzulla, you just wish he would have said, dude, listen, you stop. Just stop.
Yeah.
You don't have it. A, pass the ball, stop dribbling, and B, stop shooting threes.
Well, Ime Udoka would have.
What's that?
The coach that they fired, Ime Udoka, their coach from last year who got fired for the off the court stuff, he would have told him stop shooting threes.
Yeah, I think
stop
so.
Shooting threes, man. Yeah. Just cut to the basket. We'll find you and just dunk it, lay it up, use your athleticism. And he seems to not be as dominant of a defensive player as he was a couple years ago. So I don't know. He was second team All-NBA this year. But I'm just curious, is that a result of, there were a lot of guys that were hurt? Typical forwards. Kawhi was hurt. Paul George was hurt. Kevin Durant was hurt most of the year.
I think what happens with a lot of players is when they're establishing themselves in the league and trying to get that second contract, third contract situation, they will play all out on both ends of the court, offense and defense. But once they feel like they've arrived, only the really, really, really great players can keep it up on both ends of the court, i.e. Jordan, LeBron, Kawhi, those next level players. Because like Jordan, you look at Jordan, what was Jordan? 10-time all defensive first team or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But a guy like him, he just reminds me of, I don't even know. I'm trying to think. But there's players like that like come up through the league. They're really, really good defensively, but then they start getting to shoot the ball, and then they start to get the points, and then they start getting the accolades. And defensively, it's like, you're not really the shutdown player that you once were. That's kind of where I feel like Jaylen Brown's fallen into.
Yeah, and it's interesting though, right? Because if you're Boston, do you think that he can get better? Or do you think he's reached his peak, at least with this group? Also, you have to remember, I don't know if you remember this, but he was in these trade rumors for KD. And it seems like once that happened, I think he was upset about it. And his play kind of fell off a little bit after that. They're going to have to figure this out because he's now eligible to sign a 5-year contract. It's 5 years, $295 million.
He's not that player. Player. That's a bad contract. And I don't think the Celtics will sign it. I don't think they will. Do you?
Yeah. I don't know. They have to figure it out because, if you move him, right, say you trade him to another team, maybe for one of these high draft picks for the draft that's coming up, that might be a good move for them, but it sets you back in your current trajectory, right? They were in the finals last year. They've been in the conference finals for 3 out of the last 4 years. And it'll be considered wasting Jason Tatum's prime years, one or two of Jason Tatum's prime seasons. So it's a big decision they have to make. And they got to get it right, man. Right. Whatever they decide, they got to get it right.
That's enough talk about the team that didn't make the finals. Does Jokic win in 5? Is that what we're saying?
Yes. Maybe 6, but probably 5. He's on another level right now. We're just seeing this crazy ascension from him. He's always been good, but now he's becoming elite. And if he wins this, I think he's already becoming one of the, top 20, even 15 players of all time. He's averaging triple doubles. It's insane, man.
He's the best player since LeBron in the late 2000 teens, right? Not even close.
Yes.
We had this conversation at the beginning of the playoffs. We both liked Embiid, but I think after watching the two play, there's a clear leader on who's a better player. He's just a better player.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take a minute to shout out our title sponsor, Brown O'Haver, Adjusters for the Insured. Brown O'Haver works for the insured, not the insurance company. They help you get more money in your pocket from an insurance claim. That insurance claim could be for the tornadoes that have just occurred here in Oklahoma. It could be for a fire claim, theft, vandalism, whatever the case. Anything you can file an insurance claim on, Brown O'Haver can help you get more money more quickly. We typically get our clients 30 to 40% more than they get on their own. If you have suffered a loss, specifically a tornado loss in the last 8 weeks, if you haven't been paid yet, it's time to be getting paid. You need to call Brown O'Haver. If you hear your friends or your neighbors or your cousins complain, I haven't been paid from the insurance company, they're really being buttholes or whatever the case may be, Tell them to call 405-735-5510. Talk to Brown O'Haver. Let us get them or you more money more quickly. We've got a crazy list of customers. We can put you in touch with anybody. Any of our clients are happy to tell us how we've helped. We can put you in a very similar situation, whether it's been a tornado claim or a fire claim, a house, business, whatever, and they can tell you what we did for them so you can feel 100% confident in hiring Brown O'Haver to adjust the insurance claim for you, not the insurance company. Kevin, softball, Texas did not make the Women's World Series. It sucks missing out on Mike White griping about having to play in Oklahoma City as if this is some brand new revelation in softball that has never occurred before. He acts like that Oklahoma has the reason Oklahoma is so great is because they have a home field advantage, except for that home field advantage has only been here for like 40 years. He's out of his mind. He deserved to lose to Tennessee, and I'm glad he's not in this tournament. How do you feel about Mike White, your softball coach?
Hey, he's fine. He's a villain, though. And villains are good for the sport, man.
Oh, he's
got to have villains.
Isn't he like, is he Australian or Tasmanian or New Zealand or something? He's got a weird accent.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he's from. I just remember he was at Oregon before he came to Texas. That's all I know about him.
I don't think it's racist to say someone's from Australia, is it? I don't know.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, you just have an accent that sounds Australian, so.
Okay, just making sure. Yeah. I'm checking my woke. This is my woke Texas friend, Kevin Miller over here. He keeps me
That's a bit
straight.
Of a stretch.
He keeps me straight. He's basically linked to the woke capital of the world, Austin, Texas. Oklahoma, on the other hand, just won their first game in the Women's College World Series, outlasting Najiri Kanadi, who just was a beast of a pitcher. She was the freshman pitcher of the year for the NCAA. She threw a rise ball that our girls could not hit for the life of them, except for one. Billy Bowman's girlfriend, Jada Coleman, had a great hit in the bottom of the 5th inning to put Oklahoma up 2-0. Utilizing Jordy Ball and her arm, she continued to just shine as a player and pitched a shutout. 2-0 win, and we actually go face the Tennessee Lady Volunteers, who ousted Texas in the Super Regional. So there you go. There's the symmetry of sports, Kevin.
All I know is you guys are going to be hard to beat, right? What is this, 49, 50 straight wins? Something like that?
49 straight wins. 49 straight wins as of today.
Pretty insane, man.
How about that 48th win? Were you watching that?
Okay, I was at home. I was cutting my grass, and I came inside. It was on, and I saw that you guys were down by, 3 runs in the 7th inning. And I was like, they'll probably still win. And I went back and started. I kept working on my lawn, came back in, and it was in the 9th inning, and you guys were up. It was bottom of the 9th. You guys were up by 2 or 3 runs. So.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't see it.
That's probably the best story I've heard about where were you when Oklahoma, when Kinsey Hansen hit the 3-run shot to tie it in the bottom of the 7th. Is I was mowing my yard. I came in, saw you were down, and figured you'd still win, so I went back to mow my yard. That is awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, there's levels to this.
First of all, do you have any pictures of your yard you can put up here on the YouTube stream?
I don't have them right now. I don't, but
Okay,
my computer's not synced with my phone. But maybe for next time we can have a little lawn care discussion if anybody's interested in that.
I'm interested in it because this man, Kevin Miller, has a fantastic yard. He uses the reel mower, right? REEL.
Correct.
He uses the reel mower. He mows his yard as often as he goes to the barber. Am I right? Like it is.
Yeah,
it is
way more often than that.
It is a tight yard.
Every 2 or 3 days in the summer.
Do y'all hear that, folks? Every 2 or 3 days. His wife Casey bought him a sign that said "Yard of the Month" just to make sure that he was properly rewarded for it, and it was well deserved. It looks fantastic. My yard's struggling. I got those dead patches, so we might need to talk a little bit about that. All right, Oklahoma baseball, Texas baseball. both in the regionals, both had disappointing Big 12 tournaments. Oklahoma did get an early win against Oklahoma State. Texas lost twice to Kansas.
Won a game, you know.
Texas, y'all thought you were going to you thought if you had a good showing in the Big 12, you could have snuck a 1 seed out of a regional. But
correct. Yes,
unfortunately, you get to go to Miami in June, which to me just sounds like crazy hot, right?
Yeah, it sounds crazy humid, especially.
Oh my God. You've got Louisiana, no stranger to the humidity. They're going to be at home. And then Maine. Who knew Maine even had a baseball team?
Yeah, seriously, man.
Okay, don't look it up. Don't look it up. I have not looked it up. Maine, what? What is?
I have
no
idea. No clue. Yeah.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna look it up. You don't look it up.
I won't.
Oh my gosh. Here we go. Let's see. I can't even be right. The Black Bears?
Okay, University of Maine Black Bears. Okay.
Bananas Tea Bear is their mascot. They're called the Bears, and their mascot, their whatever, is a stuffed bear called Bananas Tea Bear. That is fascinating.
Hey, they must be decent at baseball, right? I guess they're the 4 seed in this region. So yeah, we'll see, man.
I got to tell you, first of all, I'm usually pretty good at collegiate namings, like nicknames or team names. Like I'm usually can come like Vermont Catamounts, whatever the case may be. I had no idea.
Pretty good.
Have you ever? Well, I had a buddy that played basketball at Vermont, and the only time I ever saw him was they showed a highlight in an ESPN top 10. And this would have been like 01 when the top 10 really mattered. Remember when ESPN top 10 like really mattered?
Oh yeah, you look forward to it. It's the best part of the show.
He got dunked on by an Ohio State player.
Oh man.
But they were the Vermont Catamounts.
But the good thing for him is it was in 01 before the internet. So you'd have to
dig
pretty deep to find that clip now.
That's correct. I don't know if you would. You'd have to get into the archives of like ESPN and anyway, Maine Black Bears, fantastic. Okay, so you're going to open against Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns, my brother Jacob's alma mater. Let me tell you a little bit about Louisiana. Those people are psychotic. Okay, and LSU fan, who we will play each of us respectively at some point in the SEC, like we know how psychotic they are, right? I mean,
Texas just played them a few years ago in 2019. And I know you guys have had some games against them. Had them in the Natty back in after the 03 season.
They're terrible, horrible people, okay? So you take the terrible, horrible, psychotic Cajun, okay? And then you add an inferiority complex, a little brother complex, a we get no respect complex to the mix, and you get the University of Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. That's what you get. So everything else that's horrible, then you add psychological inferiority to it, and they're off their rockers. My brother included. They're insane. I know.
They had a pretty good football program with Billy Napier a few years ago, right? But now he's at Florida, so I don't know what they're going to be able to do now. I know
Louisiana softball has always been really good. They beat LSU this year in their not their super regional, but in their regional, where they were all mad because they had to go play at LSU. And why do we have to go play at LSU? And we hate going to play at LSU. And so they got their chip on their shoulder and they beat them. My point being is Louisiana people are psychotic. And it's just been recently that ESPN finally acknowledged that Lafayette needed to be dropped from Louisiana, though, isn't it?
Was that the NCAA or was that their deal, right? They want to be called the University of Louisiana?
Louisiana dropped it like maybe when my brother was in school, like 10 years ago. It was UL.
Yeah.
But ESPN refused to acknowledge it. They kept calling them Louisiana Lafayette. Yeah, they kept calling them Louisiana Lafayette and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and they even like on the scroll and stuff, and it would just drop. Back to that inferiority complex, right? It would drive my brother insane. It would make him so mad. Anyway, that's who you played. So I don't know what's going to happen. Texas, see, let me explain this psychologically. We're in the 45th minute of the Boomer Bevo podcast, so we're getting into some psychology here. Texas lives in a world of superiority complex with absolutely no foundation of success to base that on, right? Louisiana lives in a world of an inferiority complex. So the clash of these two programs is going to be just it's going to be psychological warfare. And I'm quite honestly,
we're talking baseball. Texas is literally the best program in NCAA history.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yes. Let's ask Google. Who is the best college baseball program? Let's see what it says. Top 10. This was in 2022. That's close enough.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Let's go look at our answers. Vanderbilt. Dude, you're not even you're number 12. What are you talking about?
Come on, man.
What are you talking about? You're number 12.
We have the top winning percentage in the history of the sport.
Is that me or you? Sorry. Apologize.
Oh, I said we have the best winning percentage in the history of the sport. And I don't think anybody's been to the College World Series as many times as Texas has.
I did not know this.
And 6 natties.
Those are all pretty compelling numbers. It doesn't make me think you suck any less, but pretty compelling numbers. All right, Oklahoma.
We're rivals, so.
Oklahoma, on the other hand, is going to Charlottesville, Virginia, to take on to open with East Carolina University in the Virginia-hosted regional. Their regional includes Virginia, ECU, East Carolina, and Army. I don't know. OU's a 3 seed. They've had some ups and downs this year. Obviously, we got a good coach. Made it to the World Series final series last year. It'll just be interesting to see. We came out of Virginia Tech last year, so maybe we like playing in Virginia. That's probably maybe a hope. I don't know that anybody's super fired up about our prospects.
It's interesting with both of these teams, right? Because it was supposed to be rebuilding teams for both. Because I think both teams got really hit hard by losses, just losing really good players, right? To the draft or just graduation. So I think Texas was expecting this to be a rebuilding year. So to, potentially have to tie for the conference championship, at least during the regular season, right? And have a chance to make a run here. It's a win. Same with OU.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the playoffs, right? It's the tournament. So all you got to do is just win the game that's in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
OU as a program and as a group of players is not scared of Virginia, East Carolina, or Army. I mean, that is not like just hearing those names. I'm sure Virginia is better than I'm making them out to be, but just hearing those names as a casual sports fan, OU is not like
LSU or Vanderbilt,
Yeah, exactly.
Arkansas.
We're not freaking out over who we're having to play.
By the way, how about the SEC as a baseball conference when we get there?
Oh, they're loaded, dude.
That's gonna be fun.
They're loaded. They're loaded at baseball. They're loaded at softball. We just got done talking about softball. They're loaded at softball, obviously. Listen, they're loaded at everything they do. They did not make OU and Texas fizzled out in the National Golf Championships. Both schools made it to the stroke play of the national championships, but neither advanced to match play. So that kind of sucks for both teams. I know both of them expect to be in that final 8 almost every year. But I was watching North Carolina, and who did they play? Georgia Tech in the championship match. And I don't know. Those were the powder blue and the gold were very muted colors. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody stood out.
Yeah. Usually I like the Carolina blue, but I mean, it looks better on the basketball court.
Yeah, on the golf course, it really washed these guys out. You know what I mean? It was just a really washed out look. Same thing with the Wake Forest gold. Like, it was fine, but you know, you'd like to see, like, Tiger back in the day always played for Stanford. Now I know I like red, but that was that Cardinal red just stood out really good.
It's a different shade.
Obviously, when Texas and Oklahoma are there, they're usually wearing their dark, home colors, home football colors. I don't know. The powder blue is, you're right. Basketball, wintertime, indoors, contrasted against like a wooden floor, a wood gym floor. It can be really nice. On the golf course, and this, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't think it. This is my fashion advice for the day. I just don't think it worked. I didn't love it.
Fair enough.
What else we got going on, Kevin? What else is going on in the world of Kevin Miller?
Well, we didn't talk about one thing. We didn't talk about is the ESPN quarterback list. Remember, they put out their list of the top quarterbacks since 2000.
I think we talked about that last time.
No, it wasn't out then.
Really?
We talked about it on the K-Rep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't out then. Yeah. So you heard about this list, right?
Yes. And they put Baker Mayfield at number 1?
Correct. What did you think about that? I don't know what you thought.
I said that you're right. I did. You're right. I did talk about it on the radio, and that's where I'm misremembering. I made the case that as a career goes, for 3 seasons plus his undefeated wins at Texas Tech, so 3.5 seasons. Those were the best 3.5 seasons by a quarterback in that time period. Right? I mean, he was really, 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 really good.
He was really good.
He finished 4th in the Heisman voting, 3rd in the Heisman voting, and then 1st in the Heisman voting. I mean, that's an incredible run. And it speaks to a level of high performance, high consistency. And let's face it, Baker was a player. Now, the other argument I made, however, was for a single season, Joe Burrow was the best quarterback on that list. His numbers were unbelievable in 2019.
He was, man. But I don't know, man. You know how I feel about Cam Newton's season at Auburn. Just because Joe Burrow had 3 stud receivers, right? And 2 of them are probably the top 2 receivers in the NFL already. Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I think, honestly, the 2 best receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, they're really good.
And again, I love Joe Burrow.
I think the problem with Cam Newton is he falls victim to the perception that because he's bigger and stronger and faster than everybody else, that he doesn't really get to count.
Man, but
you know what?
Nobody else. I hear you.
You know what I'm saying, though, right? When the guy's bigger and stronger and faster, I mean, he could run over. I mean, I remember that they were down 21-0 against Alabama in the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
And he brought them all the way back single-handedly.
Yeah. And again, not one player on that team played in the NFL other than Nick Fairley, who was a defensive tackle.
None of those running backs played?
No. Nobody had a caught a pass. He was the only player that had a carry, that caught a pass, anything.
You know what, dude? I will say this. I never liked Cam Newton. And when he got to the pros, I didn't like him. And he played terrible in the 1 Super Bowl he made. He was terrible in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, he struggled with that. He was funny.
Dude, jump on the fumble, bro. Jump on the fumble, bro. Jump on the fumble. Don't stare at it.
Jumped on the fumble.
Don't stare at it and just expect somebody else is going to get it. Or what was going through that guy's mind? Was that one of the weirdest plays you'd ever seen?
It was very weird, especially in that moment.
This was week 3 against Jacksonville, right? Where nobody cares if you get on the ball or not, right? You're where everybody can justify. Well, you want
to get a shoulder pop.
Yeah, this is the Super Bowl. You got to get on the ball.
That was weird.
Let me ask you, man. Where was Vince Young at in that list?
Vince Young was 3rd on the list. Vince Young was 3rd.
Who was 1st? Who was 2nd?
Cam was 2nd.
Oh, okay. Burrow was 5th?
We got, so Baker, Cam, Vince Young, Tebow was 4th. He had an amazing career. Joe Burrow was 5th. He did. He had a better career. I mean, honestly, you can compare his career with Baker Mayfield. And he's got the natty. He's played on 2 natty teams.
No, I know.
He was a contributor on 1, and then the starter on the 2nd one.
Listen, dude, I fell into I got caught up in the Tebow hype when he was playing with Denver.
I never got caught. I mean, it was fun to watch, but I never got caught up.
Well, remember that playoff game when they go to overtime and then they scored the touchdown and
first play. Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace.
Oh man, I can't believe that guy passed away. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So listen, dude, I get it. I can't say he might be the best football player on the list just because he just did all of those intangible things. But as a quarterback goes, Vince Young at third. I mean, what do you think? Where as far as singles, if you could only take their best season, do you think Vince Young passes Cam Newton and Baker?
Yes, his 2005 passes up, in my opinion, anything that Baker did because he won a national championship and they were undefeated.
It doesn't pass up Burrow, though, does it?
Look, Texas had talent, but not that kind of talent, especially the receiver position, right? I mean, Jamal Charles was a true freshman on that team, right? Again, I love Joe Burrow, but he had just some studs there. Yeah, but Terrace Marshall was a second. He is.
I guess the problem. I guess that's kind of the corollary to my argument is that he's then backing it up in the league.
Yeah,
right.
He's been the best out of all these guys in the NFL. Although Cam was a unanimous MVP, let's not forget that, and went 15-1. Unanimous MVP, man, is what it is. Same with Lamar Jackson. People say, Lamar Jackson. He was 8th on the list, by the way. Unanimous MVP.
I always thought Lamar Jackson's a very weird NFL player, though. I mean, you'll grant me that. Like, he's kind of schizophrenic. When he's on, he's the best quarterback in the league. Like, he's unstoppable. Yeah. But when he's off, it's like, dude, you can't throw the ball. Like, what's going on? I want to
see how he looks. They got a new coordinator. They got the guy who was Georgia's offensive coordinator last year. He's going to be their offensive coordinator for the Ravens this year.
Where did Kyler Murray end up on the list?
Kyler was 7th.
I'm telling you.
I've said this. I think Kyler's better than Baker.
If I had one game to go win and I had to take an Oklahoma quarterback and maybe any quarterback on that list in college, which I know is a different skill set than the pros, I think I'm taking Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to convince me. I told you before. I think he's the best OU quarterback I've ever seen. He's unbelievable.
Kyler Murray.
Baker had a historically good career. He did. I just don't know if I could say he's the best quarterback to play college football since the year 2000.
He's had the best career, though, man, because of the 3.5 years, the longevity of the career. Do you not give him any credit for that?
No.
He did it 3 years. He made 2 college football playoffs. Made 2 college football playoffs and won a New Year's Six bowl. Finished as high in the Heisman count as he did.
Well, I guess can you put him over Tebow with that argument? Who was a 3-year starter at Florida, played in 2 national championship games, won it in 08, won the Heisman. Also was a finalist in 08. Not sure if he was in 09.
But Baker's numbers were way better. I think you're right. I mean, I think Tebow wins. Tebow gets a lot of that credit. I don't want to, knock him down for that. At the end of the day, I mean, you're taking Vince Young, right? If you had to go win one game.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm taking Kyler Murray. And I would roll the dice. I mean, dude, listen. He played on an Oklahoma team that had nobody on defense. Nobody. That was probably our worst defensive team in a very long time.
Yeah, you had a young Kenneth Murray. Who else do you have?
You had Trey Norwood, maybe, who went on to the pros.
Yeah, guys that could play against the talent, but
they were terrible. There was almost a mutiny at halftime because of Mike Stoops calling the plays.
Yeah, you fire your defensive coordinator during the middle of the season. And technically, I'm a Texas fan, so I know all about that. When Texas fired Manny Diaz halfway during the season in 2011. So
that list is fascinating.
It is. Let me just run. I'm gonna run through the top 10 real quick. All right. So Baker at 1, Cam at 2, Vince Young 3rd, Tim Tebow at 4, Joe Burrow 5, Deshaun Watson 6, Kyler at 7, Lamar Jackson at 8, Marcus Mariota at 9, and then RG3 at 10.
I really thought Mariota was a good player. He's properly ranked. He's properly ranked, but he was a very good player. RG3 is an interesting one on that. I mean, he won the Heisman, but he's not on your list of guys you would go try to win a game with, is he?
I don't think so, but man, remember how bad Baylor. I think he's on the list because of how bad Baylor was when he got there.
They were terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to the Texas versus Baylor game in Waco easily. It was really hard to get tickets in Austin, but if you wanted to go see Texas play, go see him play Baylor in Waco.
There was always more Oklahoma fans at Waco than there were.
Same. The old Floyd Casey Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it was a guaranteed win. It's not anymore. He's a big reason for that. I don't know.
Holt McCoy 12, by the way. A&M fans were upset because Johnny Manziel was only 13.
Johnny Manziel, I think he was better than RG3. I would have put that at RG3.
Here's the thing, right? You can say a lot of bad things about Manziel, but God, he was fun to watch. He was so fun to watch.
Here, the reality, though, and I've said this before, Mike Evans is the reason he won a Heisman.
Yeah, but man, he was electric, though. I mean, his ability to escape pressure and just make things happen. I know he threw it out to Mike. I would put
Manziel. Well, look what he did against Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl that year. My God, I mean, he just destroyed us. He absolutely destroyed us. People were laughing at Oklahoma's defense after that game.
Yeah.
I would put Manziel in the top 10, and I would drop RG3.
Okay, fair enough.
But I don't think RG3. I'm not knocking down RG3. And
that's the thing. You just bumping up somebody else.
If I'm A&M fan, I think the first time in the history of the Boomer Bevo podcast on June 1st, 2023, 1 hour and 2 minutes in, I'm going to say A&M fan might have a point. Manziel probably should have been in the top 10 quarterbacks in the 21st century.
I guess so. You know, he did only play 2 years. He redshirted that first year, played the 2 years, and then went to the NFL. So maybe if he had a little bit more longevity.
Maybe if he wouldn't have done meth in the NFL, people would like him more, and he would be higher up on random lists.
He had some issues in the league for sure. And same with Kyler, right? Like Kyler's 7th. He only started 1 year, so that just shows you how magical he was that year.
Yeah, it was about midway through Kyler's season, maybe kind of around the Texas game, either right before or right after, where it dawned on us, oh my goodness, he's going to leave, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like you didn't expect him to go pro because it was only his junior year, whatever, red shirt or whatever junior year. So he had another year of eligibility. So you expected him. Hey,
you're leaving out a big point. Remember, he'd just been a first
round.
He'd just
been drafted, and you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And the question was, is he going to play college football or was he going to go play baseball?
Yeah. He was like, you know what? He talked to the A's. I just want to play 1 year college football. The A's were like, all right, cool. Go play 1 year college football. Then you come here with us after that. He threw for 4,361 yards and then ran for 1,478. Are you kidding me?
And I don't think he ever got tackled.
No.
It seems like he always
avoided contact like him. Yeah.
Even in the pros, his injuries haven't been because somebody blasted him. He senses it like nothing I've ever seen in terms of contact.
Yeah.
Kevin, I'm glad you brought that list up. That's great conversation, especially in the summer when we're less than 100 days away from college football.
Let's go, man. Countdown's on. I'm
fired up. Kevin, enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy game 1 of the NBA playoffs. Enjoy mowing your yard while the Oklahoma Sooners win another softball championship. And Boomer.
Welcome.